Hello and welcome to this episode of the Humans of Horses podcast. My name is Elle and I'm the human of 3 horses, Fion, Zaconia and Morgan. And I should probably say kind of 4 now because we have Daisy too, who's my mum's Shetland cross, living with us. So since I last recorded, she's now here at home with them. So I guess it's 4 now. So I just have to admit that. So there's 4. And on Instagram, I'm otherwise known as Humans of Horses podcast and Swallows Among Horses, which has also changed since previous episodes. So that's a very brief introduction to myself, which listeners should already know. But anyway, and with me is Shawna. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Shawna. I am a human of also 4 horses. My gentle giant Hudson, who is like my absolute heart horse. Spicy mare named Fancy.
That's
and then
a really
2
good
adorable, 2 adorable minis, Pippin and Ruffles.
Love it. So you reached out to me because you wanted to share specifically about Hudson. So I'll just let you have the floor. Go ahead. Introduce us to Hudson and yeah.
Okay. Hudson he's just magnificent. Like he's over 18 hands. He's Shire Clyde Cross. And he's my greatest teacher. Like when I met him, I was just sort of starting to explore like my intuition aside from mother's intuition. Because I was never taught about intuition other than mothers have intuition and you can trust that. And that's all I was ever taught. So when I met him, he was basically a big chicken. He seemed scared of people. So I played around with some essential oils just to like, hey, do you want to smell this? How does this? And I thought it was so cute because one of his favorite blends was called Brave. But that's fitting. So I really felt like not his owner that he had at that point, but maybe a previous owner had done something to him, that he had some trauma around people. And I just really wanted to show him that people aren't bad. And horses have always been my happy place. They've always been like a form of therapy to me, even though I didn't grow up with horses. And so I wanted to give back. And part of my giving back was, I'm here. I don't have any agenda. What do you need? And can I just be here with you? And so over time, our relationship developed. And I will never forget when I was cleaning his paddock and he actually like very tentatively came over to me and like, can I please have some scratches? And so I would scratch him and then he would leave and I'm like, okay. And then he'd come back. And yeah, so it was just this dance of like showing him that I don't expect anything of him. If he asks for something, he will. And in that, he ended up teaching me that our sensitivities aren't always a bad thing, that a lot of times they're our superpower, and to really trust my intuition. And so through all of that, we just developed this incredible bond. And when his owner had to downsize, she's like, I've never seen him have a bond like that with anybody else. He is yours if you want him, knowing that he will be with me for the rest of his life. And at the same time, we also got my daughter's heart horse, which was a Clyde thoroughbred cross named Zoe. She's unfortunately no longer with us, at least not physically. But yeah, so they came together. And it's been amazing. So I ended up, after Hudson and I started this bond, I found this lady who offers like horse medicine work. And I was like, this is what I want to do. But, also then who am I to do that? But Hudson
Yeah,
really
like
taught me,
kind of imposter syndrome.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
well, right, I don't even own my own horse. How can I do this work with horses? But Hudson really, like, no, you've already done this with me. You can do this. And it's been such a journey, but so magical to look at where we were when we met to where he is now. And when I bring people for a session and he's the horse that they need, he just, like, his whole demeanor, his whole personality, his whole energy changes. And he shows up in his power. And it's funny that that word came up because I was thinking of that earlier. And sometimes, like, being in our power can almost, like you think of, like, oh, like a tornado is powerful, or like it has to be some big chaotic kind of thing, like a river's powerful. Like, and I was like, no, there's lots of other things that are powerful that are subtle, right? And just, yeah, to see him show up in his power and how much he enjoys that work and holds space, it's just been incredible.
Yeah. No, thanks for sort of giving an overview of what that's looked like. I think what I want to ask though is, how did you come across him? Like, because from what I gather, he wasn't yours when you first met him. So how did you come across him, and where were you at in your life when you met him?
Well, funny enough, at that point in my life, so Fancy had been in our life. Like, I've known her since she was born. She belonged to a friend, and I kept trying to get her to sell Fancy to me. And she's like, no, she's never for sale, but you can come visit her whenever you want, blah, blah, blah. So we spent a lot of time with her. My friend ended up moving, and just like a whole things came into play, and I no longer was able to see Fancy. Like, we were still friends, but where she was, I just, like, it just didn't work. So Fancy was actually no longer in my life, and I was devastated. So, during this time, like, my daughter loves horses. And so she had been, in riding lessons, and then she did equestrian vaulting. So it's like gymnastics and dance on horseback.
Yeah.
So Hudson was actually supposed to be a vaulting horse. So her coach had Hudson, Zoe, and some other horses. But Hudson is one of those horses that, like, you can't stick him in a field and pull him out like a month later and have him be the same horse. Like, he needs sort of consistency, or he just sort of reverts back a bit. And she didn't have the time to give him the consistency that he needs. And I witnessed that he didn't really enjoy being a vaulting horse. So he wasn't used as much. And so, as my daughter was vaulting, I would, like, help with chores and just, like, anything I could do to spend time with the horses. And so that was sort of where we developed that bond. And I remember looking, like, a couple of years into it, I was like, oh, this is interesting, because it turns out that Fancy was, like, literally 2 blocks away and I didn't know it. And I was like, well, that's interesting because if I had been able to go and see Fancy where she was, I would not have developed this bond with Hudson.
Mm.
So even though it was painful, it had to work out that way. And then, interestingly enough, like literally 1 week to the day that Zoe transitioned, my girlfriend reached out of the blue. I'm thinking of downsizing the horses. Would you be interested in Fancy? Yes. That's been a whole other journey, but she has not been as easy as Hudson for neither me or my daughter. But like I said, that's a whole other journey that we're still in the middle of.
I think it's interesting how the heart horse can manifest in different ways in different people's lives. Because, like, for me, Fionn is my heart horse, and he challenges me, but I also challenge him. But, like, we need to in order to grow together and, like, to grow through our relationship and to have gotten through all the things that we've gotten through. You know, like, never did I think when I met him that I would move him internationally. Like, I was taking care of him, so he wasn't even my horse. And I saw him trailer load once, and he literally, like, saw the trailer and ran a mile. So the fact that he even went on a trailer to another country, I'm like, what? It's insane. And now he will just load. He will just go on a trailer, and he's like, yeah, cool, whatever. I mean, he's not super happy about being in one, but he will go in and just chill in it, which is amazing. But what I find with him is whenever I have quote unquote friction in my relationship with him, it's because I'm not on my own path that I'm supposed to be on. And I feel like, yeah, he kind of gives me that, hey, you're not being you kind of feeling, and gives me a bit of a wake up call. So that's how he, as my hot horse, comes into my life. And I'd say, you know, taking sort of, I think it's Brittany's words, Brittany Ashworth, from Sacred Echoes, taking her words is like, I think it's to do with your soul contract. So yeah, I think that's our soul contract, is to, like, honor each other's sense of self. So what would you say, like, Hudson is in terms of a heart horse relationship for you, and, like, how does your heart horse relationship manifest?
So it's interesting that you bring up Brittany, because so one thing that came up when you said that was she did a soul contract for Hudson and I. And in there, I don't remember what the question was, but it was like something about, like, how would he describe our relationship or our contract, or what does he want to say about that? And it was the most unclear but amazing response. And it was something along the lines of, like, how do you give words to something that isn't quantifiable? That it's the feeling of it rather than being able to explain it, like with our relationship. And so, yeah, that just felt like it wanted to come out. I actually, shortly after Hudson and I first had, like, a deep bond, like, we would be in the barn. If nobody else is around, I could put my arms out and he would put his head into my chest and I could give him a hug. But if anybody else came in, he'd be like, nope, I wasn't doing that. And one of the times that he did that, he ended up sort of, like, bumping my forehead with his. And it was like, oh, I've felt this before. And so growing up, I had what I thought then, and I still do, like, my soul animal was a cat. And like, the connection that we had, so it's like I feel that with Hudson. And so I've always wondered whether it's like that cat Dusty reincarnated in Hudson. But I've since seen where Hudson has actually like channeled other animals. And so at this point, I, whether it's reincarnation or whether Hudson actually channeled Dusty, it's that soul level connection that, like, yes, you've found this again. Because when after Dusty passed, I thought that was it. Like, you get like once in a lifetime kind of soul, because I had never had that with another animal out of all of our cats, dogs, horses, whatever. Even with Fancy when she was younger, I didn't quite have like that soul connection. Yeah. So there's that. And yeah, I feel like we do grow together, but for us it's not so much pushing each other. It's like a natural co-expansion, like supporting each other. So even in like the work that I do with Hudson and the herd, it's so easy to put it on them. Like, look at what the horses do. Like, and they don't have to do anything. They just get to be horses, but how they can help us in that. But as much as I help him be confident in that space and in people, he also helps me be confident in that space and, sort of putting myself out there. And on one of one of the episodes I heard, you guys were talking about, rather than it being like a relationship, it's like a friendship. And because somebody had said something about like Hudson being my baby, like my child. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's more than that. Like, it's a partnership. And yeah, when I heard that, it's a friendship. Like, it's one of those true friendships where you truly want what's best for the other person. Like, there's no judgment, there's no competition, there's no, like that dream friendship that we all want, where you just lift each other up. That's what I would say it is.
Yeah, I really like that. I think it was Gareth and Talia Marie that talked about,
I think so,
about the friendship. And yeah, it's funny you say that, because we hear so often the term like, oh, you're his mum or you're her mum, or I'm like, why do I have to be my horse's mum? Like, I'm not my horse's mum. My horse's mum is like a horse.
yeah.
I'm not going to be my horse's mum, but when I sort of heard the word friendship as well, I was like, yeah, that's what it is. And, I talk about now, well, I never liked the word owning a horse, but, I sort of say now, well, I'm in relationship with my horses, and that means we have good days and it means we have bad days, because that's what relationships are about. You're going to have, you're going to have moments where it sucks a little bit, but you're also going to have moments where it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every relationship, even the absolute best relationships, have their ups and downs.
Yeah. So I think what I'd like to ask next, because you've touched on it a little bit, but you talk about the work that you do with your horses and with Hudson, and what exactly is that, and how did Hudson inspire it, and how did it come to be?
So I sort of do a variety of things. So when I first found this Hillary of horse medicine leadership, it was that full body, yes, this is what I'm meant to do. Because I've always wanted to do therapy with horses, but I didn't want to go to school to become a therapist. And I don't believe in saying, like, I do therapy if I'm not a therapist, right? And so, yeah, I sort of kept an eye on her work. And in the meantime, I came across EFT tapping, which had helped me. But then when I learned, like, oh, wait, I can use this for horses, I was like, okay, I'm in. So I became an EFT tapping practitioner, and it's one of the tools that I use with Hudson, especially like if I'm going to teach him something new, because he is so sensitive and still has like a little bit of that anxiety, maybe fear, like especially when it comes to because he's so big. My daughter got me the solo ride thing that is like a stirrup that you could put on one side of their leg and it goes over their back and hangs down the other side so that I can get on him from the ground. But I'm like, he doesn't even like a measuring tape, like even a soft measuring tape, right? Anything like that, he will walk away. So it's like, okay, well, how am I supposed to use this thing with him? If I can't even get near him with it, or like I don't want him to be scared when I'm putting it on, right? So yeah, I'll like use tapping with him around like this thing. Yeah, maybe it seems scary, but maybe we can try it. And yeah, so I did some work with like I use the EFT tapping for humans and for horses for like separation anxiety and stuff like that. Oftentimes, it's the human that needs to do the tapping, not so much the horse. So whatever the human is carrying. But so for those that don't know, EFT tapping stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it's tapping on acupressure points on the body that sends the signal to your body that it's safe and then allows you to process things. But this work with Hillary just kept coming up, and Hudson kept showing up, like how he kept showing up for me and the things that he would show me, like as I'm sort of learning a little bit more from Hillary. And so then I was like, okay, I'm just going to go and I'm going to do a private retreat with her. And that was it. I was hooked. I just felt such a sense of belonging with this work. And she had a bonded pair that spent time with me. And I felt a bit like Hudson was there in that. And so Hillary, her intuitive nudge was that the connection that those two horses have, they were spending time with me to affirm that connection that Hudson and I have. And especially because I sort of felt Hudson in that space. But again, it was like, it's just my imagination, right? But her looking from the outside in and being very intuitive, for her to also bring that up. And then, yeah, like everything that happened after that, I actually just shared about the blog post on my Facebook page and Instagram. But my mom ended up in the hospital like 6 days after and didn't come home. And so there's a whole blog post about that. It's called The Hour That Changed My Life, and what the horses had given me and how I was able to, like, what a gift that ended up being to my siblings and my mom while we were going through this. And I was like, yeah, this is what I have to do, right? Other people need what I just experienced. And yeah, Hudson just kept showing up. And so basically I don't make the horses do anything. They live free. They have a in and out barn with pasture. Like they get to live as I believe horses should. And they, like, for their survival, they need to be able to read the energy. And they're much more honest read of energy, a more clear read of energy than humans are with our judgments and perceptions and baggage and all of that kind of stuff. And so the horses really know who needs what. Um, and so, like, when I bring people to the horses, whether it's like through like bringing their intention and recording the video, or on Zoom, or actually in person, I just really trust what comes through me and what the horses are showing. And I offer my translations of, okay, well, the horse is doing this. What do you feel? And then also offering, like, okay, well, these are the sort of the translations, the different things that this could mean, like when a horse turns its bum to you. And like do one of those resonates. And it's sort of like pulling the threads of a sweater and like, let's see what unravels. And it always ends up, I never know what will happen, but I know it's exactly what's needed. And it always ends up connecting them more to themselves and what's coming up and being able to trust it. And because the horse is like I just totally lost the words. That like they're like an instantaneous mirror, right? Like you get that instant feedback, that instant biofeedback. And yeah, so I've sort of since learned that my passion, because what horses have really done for me is help me come home to myself and to trust that and to know what being in connection with myself feels like. And so that's what I want to do for other people, whether it's through this work with horses, through the EFT tapping, through a blend of it. And then on the flip side, maybe not, I also do, because one thing I've learned through this work with Hillary and through things that Hudson has shown me and like channeling other animals, is that connection, like once they pass away or transition from this world, they're not gone. We think that they're gone, that that's it. But the connection is still there. The energy is still there. And as someone who could never meditate, I tried and I just never could. I now, like I was finally able to start to learn how to meditate. And so now I offer a couple of different ways of meditation. One is like starting with EFT to quiet the mind, because that's a lot of our problem, and going right into a meditation to access the greater energy of horses as a whole, the horse collective. And in there's been some pretty amazing experiences that people have had with like their horses who have passed show up. One lady, her dad who passed many years ago, showed up with her horse. And she was able to have this connection within the meditation that felt so real, and that a lot of times our mind sort of dismisses, like we almost have to be in meditation to get out of our mind to allow that to happen, if that makes sense.
No, definitely does.
Yeah. And then the other thing the other option of that is if grief is still really heavy, or it feels like there's grief that hasn't fully sort of resolved, then I do like a sort of a 2-day event of tapping and processing the grief. And then the next day or night, coming back and tapping on anything that's left. But that period of time gives time for the emotions to move and to start dispersing. And then we go into meditation specifically to connect with your animal. So it's not necessarily like the Horse Collective. It was inspired by this meditation with the Horse Collective. But yeah, and in that I had another lady that she wanted to connect with her cat. And in that, her cat showed up, her dog from her childhood showed up and kept wanting to like lead her somewhere. And she's like, what? Like, like the Lassie, like, what? Where are we going? And took her down this path. And there was her dad waiting. I'm like, what is it with dads showing up in this space? Like, it's just,
yeah.
And for two totally separate people who don't know each other in two different like events to have this happen, it's quite moving.
I think that's really empowering because a lot of the time in the animal communication space, it's like someone else does the connection with your animal. You don't get to experience it for yourself, but it's like with what you're describing is your client gets to experience that. And that's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for reflecting that back to me. I hadn't thought of that before. I just got like goosebumps. Yeah.
No, that's
I love
very,
that.
very special because, we kind of think, oh, animal communication isn't accessible because I'm not an animal communication. It's like we all communicate with animals, even if we're not in a place to go on that deeper, like sort of subconscious, ethereal world kind of level. Just by listening to our animals in the physical realm, that's communication.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had sessions with Brittany and I was like, I wish I could do what she does. Or I wish I could have like that experience. But then the minute I thought that, the next thought was, you do. It just looks different.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And like
for me,
having my cat show up through my horse, right? Like that is a communication.
For me, it was like, I think I started to realize I did it because I have very clear dreams and I didn't know the word lucid dream. But then someone kind of said to me and I was like, oh yeah, that's basically it, where I have dreams at nighttime where I almost feel they're so real that when I wake up, I'm like, oh, like I just lived a whole day or night or whatever in a completely different experience than like my actual life here and now. So that's when I started to realize like, oh, I do this. And then I started to sort of remember the dreams a bit clearer. And then I was like, oh, I had a dream that I did this with my horse, or that I had this conversation, or, and it's quite interesting because I've done one sound bath, recently. And it's so interesting when you go into deep relaxation with your body and then you're hovering in and out of consciousness and subconsciousness.
Yeah.
And like, I remember like I was literally walking in the lane behind Morgan and having a conversation with her whilst doing this sound bath. And like, she was just saying like, you're exactly where you need to be. And like, it'll become clear what that is. Because I've had a pretty SHITTY year so far in terms of my career. And, I kind of was like, well, why am I in this situation? I shouldn't be in this situation. And she was like, you're exactly where you need to be and it'll become clear. And actually today I had this kind of epiphany because I live in Somerset in the UK, and like to drive home from work, I come down this beautiful hill where I see all across like basically almost the whole county, and I see like the Glastonbury Tor, and then like in the far distance you've got like the Dorset coastline, so the Jurassic coastline, the hills of that. And I was just driving down there today and I realized, I was like, I think, like, I feel, what was it I came up with? I was like, I feel for the first time fully, entirely relaxed in who I am and how I show up in work, in a way that, like, work is now enjoyable on a much deeper level than it's previously been. And I was kind of telling a friend this, and then she said it sounds like work has, in a way, become your place of peace. And Tanya Kindersley, who I follow on Instagram and Facebook as the Red Mare, she's always talking about her place of peace, and she refers to that as, you know, being with the horses and being with the Red Mare. And I was kind of like, well, the place of peace can be the horses, and it can be your home, and it can be a walk in nature, or it can be up in the sky at 38,000 feet with whoever I'm doing my day with, or landing a plane. Like, you know, and I've never had that feeling where work has been my place of peace before. And I'm like, if I can carry this place of peace now in my job and keep it that way, then when I do try and become a captain again, that's a pretty awesome place to be in. So
yeah, and like
epiphany.
As you're saying that, like, what is, like, whether it's, you know, with the horses or in nature, like, what is the common denominator in all of those? It's you. Right? So, like, what the horses taught me, the big thing in that blog post, The Hour That Changed My Life, and the experience that I had, was there was like a period of deep rest, like true actual rest, which was amazing, but also such undeniable peace, like soul filling, spiritual filling peace. And even like when I was in the hospital with my mom, I was able to come back to that sense of peace in myself. And that's the big thing about like helping women, helping people come back home to themselves. Like what they say, you have everything you need within you. It's like, well, no, I need to talk to my animals and I don't know how, and right? Or I need $1 million. I don't have that, right? Whatever it is. But it's that feeling. And so we are the common denominator wherever we are in our life. And so if we can learn how to access and bring ourselves back to that place of peace, regardless of what is going on around us, that's gold, right? And I didn't realize it until I was talking to somebody about it a year after my mom passed. And I was like, man, I'm still learning lessons from this one private retreat. But being able to bring myself into that place of peace and trust. And yes, this is really hard sitting beside my mom as she's basically dying. But I could still find that place of peace and trust. And as we know, like, people feel what we feel, right? If we're in a bad mood and we're around somebody, they feel that. If we're in a good mood, like, that's contagious. And I was like, what a gift to be able to be that calm in the storm, that center, that being filled with peace that then ripples out to her as she's in her deathbed. Right? Like, it just, I was like, it was such a gift.
Yeah. It is a gift, yeah.
Yeah, and so, like you said, like, to have that, like, to have your work be your place of peace, right? Can you experiment with that peace that you feel, right? Like being in nature, okay? You feel this peace. Being in the car, driving home from the airport, can you feel that peace? Being in with your horses, can you feel that peace? Right? And it's hard when we don't have that experience of it to call upon. But once you sort of have that experience, and like this is something else that I do with the horses, is like I'll bring people into meditation and like, okay, like not really meditation, but more that our brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. And when I told my girlfriend this, she's like, so, okay, real, we're driving in the truck down the highway, but in my imagination, I'm up in an airplane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
like,
yeah, that...
I remember as a kid, I used to imagine riding a horse alongside the car. Like I had an imaginary horse.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd just be there like, yeah, we're riding the entire length of France alongside the car, you know, to pass the time.
And sometimes our real and trying to imagine doesn't match. Right? But when it's a feeling and you're sitting there and, okay, when was a time that I felt at peace? Where was I? Right? For some people, it's like sitting beside the ocean. Sometimes it's like, you know, sitting in a really dense forest. Like whatever it is, I think the majority of us at some point have felt a sense of peace. Even if it's not that deep mind, body, soul peace, we've felt a sense of peace. And okay, so now can I imagine where I was? What did it sound like? What did it smell like? You know, bringing your senses into it and really like daydreaming, really getting into the imagination of it. Can I imagine this peace? Like, where do I feel it in my body? Okay, I feel it in my heart. Can I imagine it spreading up and down my arms? Can I imagine it's like spreading throughout my body until your whole body feels this sense of peace? Right? And that's where your mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So as you're imagining this, your mind thinks it's real and your nervous system is regulating. Your nervous system is calming. Makes sense.
I just had a bit of an epiphany, I think, again. It's been one of those days. So I did something called solution focused therapy in May, and I did 2 sessions. And normally it takes about, I was told 6 to 8 sessions, and I did my work in 2. Which I'm like, wow, okay. And essentially what you do is you spend the first hour just checking in. So it's like, where are you on a scale of 0 to 10 in terms of happiness today? Name one good thing that happened in your week, you know, that kind of thing. And then the second half, you're read a meditation to relax your entire body. And then you're told stories that kind of like situationalize what you're going through in life, but in a story. And one of the stories I remember is I was given the story of like I was driving home in my car and I pulled over because I saw a horse and I wanted to help the horse get home. And the horse knew where it needed to go, but all I had to do was just like, if it got distracted, just hold the thought of, no, not there, here. And that was one of the stories I remember because I actually lived that exact same experience with Morgan the previous day, where she was kind of like, I want to go here. And I was like, not quite there. So I sort of guided her. And the amazing thing about solution-focused hypnotherapy is that you do 50% of the work in the first session, and it's using the brain's capacity to hear stories and then like somehow subconsciously process what it needs to take away from those stories, and basically you yourself do the work subconsciously. And I remember when I woke up from my first meditation, I suddenly it was like a switch. I was like, I'm suddenly myself again, because I hadn't been myself for months. And like I came downstairs all bouncy and happy, and my husband was really happy because he hadn't seen me like that in a really long time. And I realized, I was like, I've been in survival mode this entire flipping course, and I shouldn't have to have gone there, but I did to try and get through it. But a lot of people I talk to actually experience it in survival mode, and my body was just like, no, we're not doing that. Like, stop. We're not doing the course in survival mode. Like, don't be so ridiculous. But it's interesting tying back into the place of peace thing. The sort of light bulb I had whilst you were talking was, so the last couple of weeks I have genuinely been at a point where I feel so burnt out by my horses that I've been like, I don't want them in my life anymore. Which is really interesting because I was telling my husband as well, and being a non-horsey person, he has some of the deepest horse wisdoms you could possibly have. And he literally said to me, like, maybe your horses have been your place of peace up until now, but maybe what they're trying to do is like, no, he basically said maybe what you should be doing is doing more work now. Because he said, you went part-time like a couple of years ago to spend more time with your horses, but you've done that now and you've gotten to where you wanted to get to with them, i.e. they're living with you. She's like, so now is maybe the time for more work. And he said, because we can do a thing at work where we just we want to fly on our days off if we want to. So if they're really short on cover, they'll call you and be like, can you go do this flight? And that's exactly what happened today. And when I was driving home, I was like, I felt so peaceful today. And now I've had the epiphany of like, oh, the horses are pushing me to realize that the place of peace isn't just them. It's also can be at work, or it can also be here, or it can also be there. And I think that's what's going on, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a very long explanation, but.
And, like, as we talk about horses and like all of these like magical experiences, and they're also a lot of work. And we, especially like those of us who hold a lot for other people and maybe feel like a sense of responsibility. And I mean, for our horses, we do feel a sense of responsibility, right? Having horses can be hard. It can be draining. It can be magical and beautiful and soul-filling, but it can also be draining. And those two things get to exist at the same time. Like, I remember one day complaining about, I think I had bought hay and the horses wouldn't eat it and it was full of weeds and this and that, even though the test results seemed fine. And so I ended up having to drive back in 2 loads to take the hay back. And I was just between that and like, because the horses aren't just in a paddock, so they poo everywhere. And so trying to keep up on poo. And I just was feeling so overwhelmed. And my husband said, he's like, well, you wanted this. Like, okay. Yes, but that doesn't mean that it has to be all sunshine and rainbows and bunny rabbits. And like, it's like like we talked about relationships, like there's ups and downs. There's times where it's easy and there's times where it's hard.
Definitely.
And yeah.
Yeah. And something I want to write about as well is, because I was like, why am I in this situation? Like, I've taken care of my horses before and done my job and I've been fine. So why is it now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I hate them. I don't hate them, but you know what I mean? Like, there's so much like, ugh, I gotta go do them now. Ugh, it's hot. Ugh, I don't like it. And then I was like, what is this all about? And then a friend of mine who's been on the podcast, Rianne, she said to me, she's like, it's because you're living with them now. So there's no off switch. I'm quote unquote living the dream. I have my own track like outside my front door, which is what I was working towards. And I was working so hard to get to that point of being able to have a place with land that I could have them on a track. And now I'm actually there and I've done all this work on the land to the point that I've just been so fixated on it. I haven't actually rested. And I think now they're kind of like, you need to rest. and you need to focus more on your job. And like, we're okay, we're chill, we're happy. You don't need to spend
you've
time with us
created
right
this
now.
beautiful place for us, and we're good.
Yeah.
You go do
and I
you.
think they're kind of saying, you go do you for a bit. Like, you don't need to do stuff with us right now. Obviously, feed us and clean us, but that's kind of what I'm feeling from them. It's like, yeah, just leave us alone, basically. Like, we'll do our thing, you do your thing. But I think it's such a key observation of the shift from having them living away from you to having them like on your front door. Like, literally last night I woke up at midnight hearing coughing, thinking, oh my god, Fion's having an asthma attack again, so I went out in my pajamas to go check on them. And it's like having a child. There's no off switch. And a lot of my colleagues say they enjoy work because they're like, oh, it's an off switch from my kids, because we don't work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So sometimes their days off looks like getting up at 7, getting the kids fed, getting them cleaned and getting them dressed and ready to school, shipping them off to school. And then, like they said, by the time I know it, the day's gone and I have to go pick them up from school, feed them dinner, do the after school activities. I'm like, that's exactly how I feel about my horses. And I was like, so actually work is giving me that place of peace. And I feel like they want me to know that work can also be a place of peace.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, it's, I do find this as well. Like the horses don't live with me there, but they're 5 minutes up the road, and it's self-board, right? Yeah. So I do everything that for them. I'm there twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, sometimes for 8 hours a day, depending on what fences need fixing or this or that.
What's the longest you've ever spent there all day?
Probably 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah, I think me as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
And, I get there and it's like, okay, I've got to feed them. Okay, now I got to feed the cats. I got to do fly masks. I got to do fly spray. Oh, when was the last time I picked their feet? Okay, I got to pick their feet. Oh, okay, now I have to pick poo. Oh, water buckets need cleaning and filling. And it can become this never-ending to-do list. And because there's always something. And in there, it's like, I want to take, I call him Clifford the big black dog, because Hudson doesn't always want me to ride him. So sometimes I just take him for a walk, and we go for a walk down the road. And it's like, okay, well, how am I going to mitigate Fancy losing her mind that I'm taking Hudson? And then, they're like, we're itchy. Can you scratch us? And no, you're not done yet. And I'm just like, for the love of Pete, like, and every once in a while, I will just hear sit. I'm like, I don't have time to sit. And it's Zoe's voice, and she's like, just sit for just a minute. So I'm fine, and so I sit down, and it's just this, such a deep exhale. And then I close my eyes, and I can like picture her beside me. And sometimes I've actually been able to like hear her licking and chewing and breathing. And I was like, right, I needed this. Thanks, Zoe.
Yeah, I love it when you take a moment to pause and then they come over and like literally breathe on your face. Like, it's like, thank you. I needed that. Like yesterday I just lay down and then Fion was just standing over me and I was like, yeah, thanks for the reminder. Cheers. Mm-hmm. I was going to say something as well. No, it's gone. Never mind. I'm covered in mosquito bites, so I'm just itching them.
Oh no. Hate mosquitoes.
I think they prefer me over my husband, so I get bitten the most. So.
Oh.
Yeah. So there we go. Fun times. But I was wondering, would you like to answer the questions? You don't have to, but would you like to answer them?
Let's give it a go.
Cool. So I will kick off with... Oh, one thing before we move on that I was going to say, I remember now. Because I used to listen to podcasts when I was doing the chores, like when I was still living in the Netherlands, and then I just stopped for some reason. I think it was because I was enjoying hearing the sounds of nature. But sometimes that's not what you actually need. And today I was feeling very inspired by 90s music. And for the first time in probably a year and a half, I put my earbuds in, I put on some tunes, and was just like dancing my way around the field doing the chores. And like,
Love it.
that just felt awesome, and I was like, oh, it doesn't feel like chores anymore because I'm listening to AC/DC and like S Club 7. Like,
Right?
So there we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, top tip. Right, questions. So I think I will ask. Oh, I'm just going to do them in a random order for a change. Okay.
Sure.
If Hudson was a part of this conversation, what do you feel he would say about you?
Ooh. So what's coming through is that you are stronger than you think. And that you hold as much space as I do. But then there's also this, like, even though you're a little human, and I'm not little, but just next to him, I'm so little. Yeah. That's
cool. I always love asking that question to people who are like actually, do animal communication, because it hits different, I think, than rather just being like, oh, I think they say this. But even the people who say I think they say this are probably right. So yeah. No, that's a cool one. This is probably my favorite question is, what or where makes you feel wild?
Oh, I heard that on one of your other podcasts, and I was like, well, but I'm not wild. I'm like steady and grounded. But then it was like, no, like, so you were talking about like the road that you like drive to come home. And so the road that I get to drive to go up to the barn is one of those tree-lined roads where like the trees are covered in moss and the branches are like hanging over the road, and it's like windy and the sun is filtering through and there's a creek running along beside it. And I was like, yeah, so what if like wild isn't like wild, but what if wild is like alive? Right? And like it made me think of like the trees. Like the trees are wild, but they're deeply centered and rooted and grounding. So yeah, I would probably have to say the forest.
Nice. No, I don't mean wild as in like, wee, crazy wild animal beast, like, I mean.
But it's funny how when you hear like certain words like power, right, how your mind automatically goes to one. Yeah, but there's always more meanings to it than what we think.
So for me, it comes from The Woman Who Runs with Wolves, the book, and like connecting to the wild woman and what the wild woman means to us, and like, tying in the things like intuition, grounding, being aware of sense of self, being enough, all of those things. So like,
well, like
what sort of being empowers that feeling?
Yeah, the being who you are before the world told you who to be.
Yeah. Exactly that. So yeah, I like that one because everyone has their own beautiful answer to it. So the next one is, so I'm not I cannot play musical instruments to save my life, but music is always very emotive and memory generating for me. So not everyone has an answer to this question, but what music reminds you of Hudson? Is there anything specific or not at all?
Oh, um, there is one, and I'm horrible with remembering names unless it's like things that I listened to all through high school. Like I could tell you, oh yeah, that's so and so, and that's the name of the song. But there's some that I pick, like if I do a video and I go to like add music to it or whatever, and it's like the things like I will love you forever and you are my happy place, and yeah, like those. I can't even like hear the song. I'm hearing like a mashup of all these different songs.
Yeah. No, I like it as well. Like I find, when I choose a song for a video on Instagram, like there's always a lot of thought into it. I don't just pick a song. I'm just like, right, I listen to
Yeah.
loads and then I pick one.
Yep.
Or sometimes it prompts me some good ones. So actually some of my favorite tracks I've found thanks to Instagram, weirdly enough. So
Yeah.
influenced by Instagram with the music tastes. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't. Do I want to? So, what limiting belief or beliefs have you moved through thanks to horses?
Oh, probably that one, I'm not enough,
Yeah,
right? I don't know enough. I'm, just not enough. And they have constantly shown me, yeah, you are.
because you mentioned that earlier as well. I think
Oh,
way
did
at
I?
the beginning. No, when you're kind of like, I didn't feel like I was enough to kind of go down your professional
Yes.
path, if that makes sense. Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
can relate to that. Because when I've thought about, well, would I want to do something quote unquote professional in the equestrian industry, I'm like, no, I don't know enough. Like straight away, my brain's like, no, you don't know enough. No, you're not enough. You're clueless. You don't know what you're doing. So,
And it's just funny that you just mentioned that, because when I said I'm not enough and I don't know enough, the light bulb moment that I had um, when I was thinking of doing this work is, it was one day I was like, I'm not a horse person. I didn't grow up with horses. I'm not even that great of a rider. Like they've just been my happy place. And it was like, that's actually a strength, because now I don't have to unlearn all of this stuff. I get to just learn it the way the horses want to teach me. So it's more like being like a blank slate. Like my lack of knowledge is actually a benefit, because I am a horse person, because I love them. Right. And yeah, like through Hillary's work, I've heard other people that, oh, I had to learn a totally different way of being with horses than how I was taught.
yeah.
And I don't have to unlearn all that.
No. Yeah, enoughness is something I thought I'd moved past, but it still surfaces. And I'm like, can you not? Can you just stop surfacing, please? Like,
yeah. And I wouldn't say that it's something that I've like moved past, cleared. It's never going to come up again. I think it's like, it's something that we move through in waves or in layers.
I think that's a good point. No, I literally I'm just looking. I wrote something that I've not published yet. And it's called "The Battle of Finding Enoughness," and like, yeah, I think I know what you mean in terms of you move through the layers, because for me it all stems from when I was an athlete and not being enough there, and being kind of told for a long period of time at really primitive times of development that I was not enough, that I was not good enough. You're not winning, so you're not good enough. And that's what the athlete brain learns really early on in life. And I think that's so sad. And that's like a really deep, deep level of pain. And then I had that kind of surfaced in my job a few times. And then like literally yesterday, Zia would not move one single step to go on a walk. And I was like, but like 2 days ago, the lovely lady who comes and rides you with, and I walk alongside, you did the whole route for her. Like, when, but I take care of you. Like, why won't you come with me? Like, that makes no sense. And then I was just there like, I know nothing about horses. And that's what it felt like to me. And again, it's the whole like not being enough thing coming up. So working on that. But I think a lot of people can resonate with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So lesson from Shawna is in stages. Working on it in stages. Yeah.
Yep. And
so thank you.
You know, just because yesterday I didn't feel like enough in whatever area.
Walking my horse down the road.
Today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking like when you said like, oh, like you didn't win, right? Okay. That day you maybe weren't enough to win. Right? We just think of it as I'm not enough. But maybe it's I'm not enough in that moment.
Or I'm not enough yet. Necessarily.
Yeah. But it's sort of like that reframe. Like when we think like, oh, I'm not enough. It's just period. End of statement in all aspects, but none of us are like, if I was to go out and run a marathon today, I would not be enough. I would die. Even though I ran a half marathon like 15 years ago, right? We're never the same from every moment, every hour, every day. And I heard of it. What was that phrase that I heard? It's like the idea that a creek is never the same water.
Yeah.
Right? There's always water in it, but it's always moving. And so even the same spot, if you can stand in a spot in a creek, but you're never standing in the same water. Right? And if we think of ourselves that way, you know, there's so many variables to like external variables that influence us that we are never the same.
Yeah.
Like day to day, hour to hour. And so maybe that reframe is I'm not enough, but I don't feel like enough in this moment. How can I move the needle forward? How can I choose to, like, where am I enough? Right? There's so many different sort of, like, it's that thread of like, okay, let's pull the thread and see what we end up with.
About like solution focused hypnotherapy is you're looking forward. So you're like, what's been has been, and that happened. What does forward look like? And how do I get to where I want to be forward? And my goal with becoming a captain, and I've said this to everyone, I'm like, it needs to be like double French on a Wednesday morning when I was at school. So I learned to speak French when I was 8. So French to me was easy and boring. So like I found it so boring at school, and it was easy. I never had to work for it because I was just like, I want to think it, you know?
Yeah.
So flying in the left-hand seat of an airplane needs to feel like double French on a Wednesday morning, boring and easy. And to get there, I think we take the place of peace and we grow it, and we don't let anything bother us. And it doesn't matter what you throw at me. It will be boring and it will be easy because I'll just be like, yeah, well, I'll just do this, and this, done, dust it. Throw me whatever scenario you want to throw at me and I won't care. Whereas like this last winter, it was all like, well, there was so much like, well, what if this, what if that, what if, and there was this big feeling of like imposter syndrome as well. Because I am young, I was there thinking, oh, what are people going to think like when they see me with 4 stripes sitting in the left-hand seat? It's not that I wasn't capable, I was, and I am even now, but it's like there was all this noise and buzzy fuzziness around it being like, ooh, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, 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 and not enough, not feeling enough. I didn't feel enough yet to achieve being in a left-hand seat. And great for some other people who can get through the course, maybe in survival mode, maybe not, maybe they have an awesome time and they get to be there now. But for me specifically, I have to make it double French on a Wednesday morning. Boring and easy. So,
Yeah.
there we go. That was a nice,
and
exploration of enoughness.
Yeah. And like you mentioned about the solution-focused therapy, and that's one reason why I love the EFT, is because as you're tapping, like we might be tapping on not like the feeling of not enoughness, and like it like creates new neural pathways. But in that, you might have like, it's like, okay, like what came up with for you in that round of tapping? Was there anything? It's like, well, I had this really weird memory of like my grandmother. Okay, what was it? And as they're talking about it, it's like, oh, that's where this stemmed from, right? So sometimes it's these, I call them little wisdom nuggets that our body brings up or our intuition brings up because we feel safe and we're, processing it. And it may seemingly be unrelated, but as you pull the string, it unravels and helps you get to like the root of what it is. And it's like, oh, okay, so that's what it was. How do I want it to feel now? Right? Or what do I want to happen? And so, you kind of go through that, like, where are you? And then
where do you want to get
going forward to?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I think, it sounds like there's a little bit of overlap with the two there, which is cool.
I think with a lot of modalities, there is some overlap, and really anything we can do to regulate our nervous.
Yeah, anything meditation related. I think it's amazing. Like, having done solution-focused hypnotherapy and then like hearing you talk about your tapping work as well, it's cool. Yeah.
Well, and even like in the work with Hillary, she has a course, and it's like the neuroscience of horses. And so it's her and they have a neuroscientist on faculty now, and they teach this course. And as I was taking it, I was like, this is all stuff I learned in tapping, but it didn't stick with me because it wasn't attached to horses. Right? And like horses in their living as horses should exist in that meditative state, like that, what is that, the theta brain waves. That's where horses naturally live, and having like the stronger electromagnetic field and all that. And that's where like the, how horses help us and what really is happening. But that's a whole other
thing.
A whole other thing.
I think the last question is basically, what message do you want to send out into the horse world about horses?
Oh,
or what does Hudson want to say? Maybe you can both contribute.
And the first thing that came up, and it's like, oh, this feels a little vulnerable, like, and it's that horses are not here for us to use them. I truly believe that horses are here to teach us, and there is no limit to what they can teach us. And there's no limit to this seemingly magical formative experiences that we can have with them if we're willing to see them as more than tools.
Yeah. That I don't think we need to say anything more than that, because that's very spot on. So thank you for sharing that and for being vulnerable with that. So yeah, that's basically it. So the way I tend to wrap up is I ask, where can people find you?
So people can find me on Instagram or Facebook, or I also have a website. And if I do post like events and so yeah, if people want to find me, you can find me on my website, www.shawnavanize.com, or Facebook and Instagram, Shawna Van Eyes. And on if you want to know when I'm hosting like one of the events that I talked about, you can look at my events page or sign up for my newsletter. I'm very inconsistent at sending emails, but I do when I have an event coming up or something that the horses are like, okay, enough, you got to share this.
I'm very inconsistent at publishing podcasts, so it's fine. Like, it's okay. I have no idea when this will be published, but who cares?
Exactly.
It'll be when it'll be.
Consistency is overrated, I think, and it's a matter of perception. What's consistent for one person isn't for another.
Do you know what's really cool though? Sometimes I've just done it on a whim because I've been felt like, publish this person's episode today. And then they've messaged me and been like, oh, it's been a year since my horse passed away to the day. I'm like, it's weird.
Right?
Yep. I'm like, okay. So that's how I publish my podcast. So maybe Hudson will just come in the dream and be like, hey, publish the podcast episode. I'm like, hey.
Exactly.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, thank you both for coming into today's session. Again, I always have no idea where these conversations will go, and they always pleasantly surprise me. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've absolutely loved this conversation, and I love listening to your podcast.
Thanks. Well, bye, I guess. I never know how to finish. Okay. I'll just say bye.
Okay.
I can't remember a time before you walked into my life. You took the broken parts of me and made it all alright. There's an easiness to your grace that I will never know, and every day this feeling only grows, and every moment with you just bleeds into one. Your easy smile greets my eyes just like the morning sun, a reflection of my soul, one heart that beats for two. Just know my love that I will